Hey, welcome to the Cam and Otis Show. This episode, soon to be a long time veteran of the show, Jeff Earlywine with Purpose Plan Profit joining us. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, and if you got a keen ear, you might notice that Camden ain't in Tucson anymore. At least right now, he's standing next to me. And for our YouTube viewers, it's pretty obvious. But those listening on the radio, it might not be, so you've got a keen ear. But Jeff, man, great to have you back on the show.
Well, it's good to be here. And for those people that are listening to us and not watching us, I have a face for radio. So I've been told that before. So, they're the ones that are getting blessed. Those that are watching, I'm sorry, you just have to put up with us.
And I'll just vouch for Jeff. He is right on that. So, Jeff, man, as much joking as we could do for the whole show, and I know we'd have a fun time talking about being barefoot in the swamps of Florida. I want to learn more about this new process that you've refined and come up with to help business leaders and business owners understand where their weak spots are on their business or in their business. Man, tell us about what's going on with Purpose Plan Profit.
Well, here's the thing, several months ago, I had this idea, I had this thought that as business owners, many times what we do is we guess at things. And, we think our marketing program is going to work. We think this employee is going to be really good. We think, we're heading in the right direction. And I started thinking about when I was a kid, well, not as a kid, even with my kids, I played the game Battleship. And when you play Battleship, it's nothing but guessing. That's all it really is. And so when you say B4, you're going to hit a carrier or a battleship. You're going to hit something on your opponent's side. And then they say miss. It's like, well, how's that possible? I mean, I just knew it. And you missed it. And that's because you were guessing. And oftentimes that's what we do in business is we guess. We guess at the marketing, we guess at the hiring, we guess at our finances, we guess at things. And so I sat down and I developed something called P5BOS. And it's got another name called Business Battleship. And so if your listeners and those that are watching us and listening to us, if they go to purposeplanprofit.com, purposeplanprofit.com, you can see right there something called Business Battleship. And it's got tons of information. It's even got a video of me there, kind of explaining what I'm saying right now. And so when I created this, I sat down, I looked at all 5 key areas of the business, the purpose of the business, the goals and why they want to do what they're doing. And then the marketing, which is the plan, and then the finances, which is the profit part. And then their people, their staff, and then the processes to make it all kind of come together. And I said, I'm kind of talking to myself here. I'm like, there's got to be a way to analyze all 5 for any business owner, small, large, it doesn't matter, and be able to do it in a quick 30-minute conversation with me and be able to tell them what their weaknesses are and what their strengths are in their business. And so I developed it. I did it. And I sat down with some business owners. I went through it with them and it worked. And not that I'm necessarily surprised at myself, but I'm like, this is amazing. I've never seen a tool like this. In 30 minutes, I can give a business owner kind of a report card style analysis of their business. And then they can go, okay, well, I'm strong here. That's great. I want to make those better, but I'm weak here. And then if they want my help and as a business coach to help them with it, great. If they want to go off on their own, that's okay too. So it's time to stop guessing and start executing in the business. And that's the whole purpose here. So if they go to Purpose Plan Profit, click on that Business Battleship, start executing, they may go, well, I don't know if I'm ready for this. Well, there's everybody can answer 7 questions. Answer these 7 questions and it'll tell you whether you're really ready for the Business Battleship powered by P5BOS. It'll tell them if they're ready for this free analysis. And it's not that I just love giving my time away. Actually, I really do. I love helping people. I love helping business owners, but it's a free call with me. All they got to do is click on that big red box and schedule some time. We jump on the phone or jump on a Zoom meeting and be able to analyze the business and tell them what's going on. It's like a doctor going for a doctor's visit, and that doctor's going to tell you exactly what's going on in your body. Well, I'll do that in your business. So I know that was probably more than it was a really long answer to a short question, but now let me be quiet and let you guys jump in with a few questions yourself.
Well, what I really love there is, you're talking about the guessing, like in Battleship. And I think that a lot of people, out of necessity, when they're a business owner or an entrepreneur, you have to make a lot of assumptions. And it's because if you don't make those assumptions, you can never move forward. You get stuck in that analysis paralysis. There we go. Gosh, the altitude's getting to me. But when you have to make those assumptions in order to move forward. And then what you're getting to, Jeff, is the downside of making all those assumptions is when they're wrong. And they're going to be wrong a lot of the time because you're making those assumptions, sometimes with a lot of information, sometimes with not that much. And I think that those assumptions are a necessary part of the business, but what you're doing is a very important thing of making sure you're checking those assumptions. You assume that your marketing is going to work because you looked at it so long, you spent weeks on it. It's like, there's no way this ad campaign won't work. But you're following all these underlying assumptions that are really, if they don't come true, then the plan's not going to come to fruition. And so it's really important, I think, to have that kind of an outside perspective to go in and challenge all of those different assumptions so that you can see what's really working inside your business and what's not working.
Absolutely. And many times we make those assumptions because some business owner across town or across the country is doing it. It's like, well, they're doing a Facebook marketing program, so I ought to go do it. And maybe that's not right for you. Or they're managing their cash flow this way, or they're putting processes in their business this way. It's like, well, maybe their way works for them, but it might not work for you. So, and you might not even need to do it. Let's say you manage your cash flow really well, and that's a strength, but you don't know it is. Well, let's go through this analysis and find out.
That's a great point. And, it just reminded me, yesterday I had a new client come on board. And one of the things I always do when I'm talking to them is talk to them about what coaching is, right? And one of the things you do as a coach is, that they have the answer in them. And your job as a coach is to help them pull it out. Mm-hmm. And then really the reason that's important is to do what you just said, is create your own plan. Not here, let me give you this plan that worked for this guy down the street, or let me Google business plans and pull one off and just do a find and replace. It doesn't work that way, because if it's not yours, if you didn't create it for where you are, who you are, with your values, with your vision, with those things that you want to do, I don't care if it's the exact same business 3 blocks down the road from you, man, it's not going to work. It won't work. And that's what's great about what you're doing with this, with this quick shot answers, is you get people thinking about what it is that they do and how they do it. They're differentiators. They're things that make them stand out from their competition. And I think that's what's really cool about how simple and focused this is.
And I think that, the interesting thing there is, I was talking about the assumptions, is there's also those where you have a skill set that you don't even realize is your differentiator, where you could, it's kind of that reverse of what we're talking about, of assuming that things will work because you saw someone else do it and it worked, where you assume everyone else has these skills in accounting and everyone else is as good with their money as you are. Newsflash, most business owners are not as good with their money as you might be. And so it's all about stepping out and having that outside perspective. And I think that this 30-minute call seems like it really does do that well, to where it can help to eliminate those guesses on the negative and the positive side of things.
Absolutely. And, I find this often in the area of marketing. It's kind of that in the 5 P's, that's the plan part. Usually it's the second piece we get to, because people, Otis, you said it well. It's like, well, they'll Google a marketing plan and now, all right, they pull something up and they start trying to do that. And it's not them. It's not theirs. Well, if you had me walk you through creating a marketing plan, and we find that that's one of the weaknesses and we need to do that, well, there's 4 steps. I have a 4-step process. Anybody can do it. And when we get done with it, you have a marketing plan that's designed just for you. It's exactly your marketing plan. It is for your business. It's for your community. It's for your demographics, your target market, your ideal customer, however you want to look at that. So marketing is an area where a lot of people are weak, and they just kind of get into business for themselves, and it takes off, and they don't really know why it's working, but they're just hoping to God it keeps working, because if it ever stops, it's like they're driving their car. It's like, well, man, if it breaks down, I don't know how to fix it. Well, let's make sure you got some tools in your tool bag so that you know where the weaknesses are. Let's make them stronger so that it doesn't break down.
Well, I think to me that goes back to the authenticity side of things. Because when we talk about copying plans over, sometimes it's a good starting point. I do have to say, I have recommended that to a couple people before. Like, hey, if you have no idea where to start, pull up a generic business plan, write some stuff, but you need to move away from that at some point, because it has to be coming from yourself. Because if you're not authentic in the way you plan your business, then your business won't seem authentic. Your products and services won't have that same charm to them, and people can always tell. And so when you're authentic to yourself, it really shows through all of your work. And that's what people really connect with. I think a lot of the time, especially in the marketing side of things, people, you'll see a successful ad, or you'll see an ad, you're like, wow, that really got me. I want to go buy that thing. If you go and copy the text in that ad on Facebook, put it in and change things over for yours, it's not going to work. It's never going to work, because it doesn't fit what you're doing. And then the opposite end of that is you just doing it yourself and just being fully authentic, not trying to polish it into an ad necessarily. You're going to be more successful with that, because people will actually connect with you, connect with your message, with your vision, your purpose. And then that's going to do a much better job selling than any sort of little marketing thing you're stealing from somebody else.
Well, and I don't know if stealing's the right word. I would say borrowing somebody's stuff. Mm-hmm. It's like putting on somebody's coat that don't fit. It's just, let's work on your business, because your business might be very common. If you're a bookkeeper, if you're a plumber, if you're a person who owns a restaurant, there's some things very, very similar in the next guy down the street. But you might have a different why, a different purpose, a different goal, a different dream. Maybe yours is a family-owned business and that one's a corporate chain. That's a major difference, But it all starts with, I think, the 5 Ps. It starts with understanding your strengths, understanding your weaknesses. Let's make those stronger, make those weaknesses go away. Let's start, instead of guessing, let's start executing. And let's nail it. And going into 2022, or maybe some people's watching this and it's well past the beginning of January 2022, this all applies. It's the same. Doesn't matter where you're at in life, where your business is at, what the calendar says. You still have strengths, you still have weaknesses. We're still here to help you determine what they are, and we can do it in about 30 minutes.
And, the beautiful thing about something as cool as the system that you set there, and I'm not sure if this is what you would recommend, but that's something, if you did that once a month and start tracking those grades, like you're going through school again, you start piecing those stuff together, you can see a little trend, and you can really learn a lot about yourself from that, track your own progress and those type of things. Now, I think they would get a lot more. They worked with you directly, of course, Jeff, but even just having those sense of measurements for your strengths and your weaknesses and your progress there can do so much for you.
Well, to me, that's where it's exciting is, you look at your business today. I mean, I can tell you about a client that when I first started coaching him years ago, he couldn't pay his bills. He was freaked out that he couldn't pay his inventory bills that came in every couple of days. He couldn't pay his employees. And now, I mean, his business is thriving, just brought on a new partner. He's getting ready to step out and retire, sell the other part to another, his partner. So the new partner. So it's amazing what a coach can do for a business owner. I mean, I think about it, some of the top actors and some of the top sports people, they have coach, they to beautiful thing about the business.
Okay, and we're going to take a momentary break, cut this out.
Norman, get rid of this.
Is it on our end or his end? Is somebody downloading a game?
I don't think so.
It's on my note though, didn't you?
What do you mean?
Don't center yourself
Oh,
on
lean
it.
in?
It- Well,
stay here?
you tend to drift to the middle.
Mhm.
Damn, lost them all together. All right. We're about 15 minutes in.
Hey, can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got you. All right.
Right. I don't know what happened there.
Yeah, sunspots, man. Sunspots.
Maybe. All right. So I don't know where I was when all that kind of froze up on you, but we can certainly pick up where we left off if you need to.
Yeah, or we'll shift it and just start off with a new question, and that'll make the cuts easier.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So and we'll start it up now, Norman, if you got it. So about 16 minutes in. And so Jeff, what I've been thinking about is, and I get this from a bunch of my clients and just folks I talk to, is hiring people. And I'm curious what's the feeling that you're getting from your clients and how maybe this new tool falls in and can help them out.
Well, Business Battleship can certainly help them because it can show, do you have things in place to train your current staff? Do you have job descriptions in place? Do you analyze or evaluate your staff at least every year? But what I'm seeing, guys, across the country, and it doesn't matter what kind of business I'm working with, hiring people these days is unbelievably hard to get the right employee these days. And first of all, you got to know who you're looking for. You got to know the position. I have a client up in the Carolinas. He had 6 people scheduled to come in for interviews. 4 didn't show up, no calls, no nothing. The 2 that did show up, 1 showed up, looked like they crawled out of a hamper, so they weren't dressed right. And this is a professional business. And the other one brought their child. Now, I don't have anything against either one of those 2 things, but it's not really the appropriate thing if you're looking for a job. And so hiring people and, finding the right ones these days is very difficult. It's harder now than it seems like it was, but a year from now, maybe it's harder, maybe it's easier, who knows? But the principles are still the same. To find, interview, and hire the right people, you can go to purposeplanprofit.com, go to the Learning Center, and there's step-by-steps there on how to find, interview, and hire the right people. You can find material there on how to train your staff. The better you train people, the better you find them and really evaluate them before you get them on staff. And what you do in the first 30 to 60 and 90 days is critical. One of the 5 P's is people. It's your staff. And John Maxwell says, one of my mentors says, everything rises and falls on leadership. Well, if you're not a great leader and you're hiring people, well, they're not going to be a great leader themselves. The law of the lid, they're going to keep bouncing into you, and they're not going to get anywhere, and they're going to get frustrated. So, I was talking to a business owner just yesterday, and he said that somebody just packed up their stuff and walked off the job. I mean, that's happening all over the country. It doesn't matter. It doesn't seem like where it matters. Just not that this is a plug, but I was at Burger King the other day. Walked in, the lady said, one of the customers said, it'll probably be 30 minutes before you get your food at a fast food place. Well, it's because there was 2 employees working, should have had about 6. 4 of them said, I quit, and left. Well, that's happening all over, but there are good people out there. There are really good people that
Okay, Norman, we're now at 20 minutes in.
people.
Yeah, and we lost you there for a minute. So good people, and truth, you're spot on, with the, the business owners I've talked to, it's a frustrating thing, but in the end, I think this is the key lesson that I'd put out there. In the end, it's worth the wait, right? I mean, when you rush to hire, and this is one of the things, before, and I'll just go ahead and label this in the Great Resignation time period, for prosperity in 20 years, when people are digging up this podcast, the archaeologists are finding the podcast. This is the Great Resignation period. But you know what? That means that there's people moving around, and they're moving around for a reason. And they're moving around because they're not getting their needs met. And one of them that I always like to talk about is Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and that feeling of significance and contribution. Do I feel like I'm a part of the team? Do I feel like what I'm doing? And I think that is a key indicator. And if that business owner is going through and answering those questions, spending that little bit of time, whether they pick up the phone and call you, Jeff, or not, but they spend that time thinking on their business by going through, and you said roughly 30 minutes. I mean, who doesn't have 30 minutes in a week? Who doesn't have 30 minutes in a month to make your business successful and make sure you get the right people? And I think that's kind of the foot stomper that I always go back to with just this quick shot thing that you've created.
I think one of the big aspects there, that why a lot of leaders and business owners lose members of their team, is because they don't view the organization in a dynamic way. I think about startups that I've been in with 3 people, where you're working on a very small level, everyone's still sweeping the floors and all that kind of stuff. But it's like, okay, but you are on this trajectory to where, as we grow this, you're going to be doing this. And then once we get that done, we're going to move you to here, and kind of viewing it that way. Now, you're not always going to move the janitor all the way up the ladder to become the next CEO for when you decide to move on to your business. That's a little bit unrealistic. But you have to have this sort of a dynamic view like that, to where you are recognizing that things will change. You're giving people opportunity to move up the ladder a little bit, opportunity to do different things, and like allowing that kind of a dynamic environment inside of your organization can give people a lot of buy-in. Because I don't know what the number is on this. Jeff, you might be able to throw out a good guess on it. I bet you that darn close to less than 10% of people would enjoy a job where things are static in that sense. And it's not a dynamic thing. We are not changing what you're doing all the time. And those people, they do great at those jobs where they stay in that static thing. But the reason that there's so much resignation, especially talking like my generation, which is, I think, carrying a lot of this Great Resignation, is that lack of a path forward, to where the leader isn't painting that vision for them. And it may be that they're not changing their job title. You're not, like I said, the janitor isn't going to move up to be CEO, but you're still giving them this view of the business that they can buy into, that they can see how their purpose aligns within the organization's purpose. And then that gives them that fire that will keep them around and keep improving. And then, we didn't even touch on the training aspects of all of that, but you just want to give them a sense of purpose, and then allow your business, your organizational structure rather, to be dynamic enough to allow them to move to where they want to.
People are watching this, and let me just throw out a little gold nugget. It is hire slow, fire fast. Mm-hmm. And we mix that up, don't we? We get somebody on board. Oh, they're not working out. They're frustrating, whatever. And then we keep them on and on and on. And then when it's time to hire somebody, oh, your heart's beating. Oh yeah. Okay. You're hired. I'm like, really? Let's hire slow and fire fast. And what do people want? I don't care if they're 20, 40, 60 years old. They want to reach their potential. They want to live out their passion. They want to make enough money to provide for their family. And they really want to do things that really helps them to grow. And it doesn't matter what business it is. They could be a waiter in a restaurant, but they want to do those 4 things. And if they're doing those 4 things, they're probably really happy. They could be an accountant, a plumber, an attorney, it doesn't matter. If they're doing those 4 things, they're probably really, really happy in the job. Now, it doesn't mean they're not going to change jobs, but they may change because of what might be a grass greener on the other side, but more potential, at least what might be more potential at another company hitting one of those 4 things even more.
I think one aspect of that is keeping in mind as a leader that what your team member, what your employee is looking for is entirely subjective to them. That, you may have this person. I think I could think of a lot of rugby examples. We have this kid, we coach in high school, and it's like, gosh, you could be the next captain for the USA team. You could go all the way. And the kid's like, I want to do math. Like, has no interest in going anywhere with it. The same type of thing happens in business, where you can have these people who you think have all of this potential to move up the ladder or to do these different jobs, and that might not be it for them. Their purpose, their passions may not align with that type of a growth. But then where the honest conversation comes in, this is a big part of being a leader, is then tying that into the organization's purpose. And what I mean by that is that you're going to have plenty of people inside a business who may not love every little aspect of your business and want to be with you for 30 years. That the idea that you're going to get people like that is that few and far between. And you have to recognize that even if it is a stepping stone for them, one, it's your job as a leader to give them the best stepping stone you possibly can, but it's also giving them that will help them to connect with you and your business, and they're going to be happier, they're going to be more productive, and they're probably going to stick around. And instead of leaving and doing a crappy 2 weeks notice, didn't finish any of my projects, they're going to help you to train their replacement, all these type of things. And that's why I think, and this is, that golden rule we always talk about in rugby, all goes back to communication. You have to talk with your team, understand what they really want out of it, because if you start to force your views onto them, it's going to end up poorly at some point. One of the examples that comes to mind is a good friend of mine that I worked with in an indoor farm, David. And he's a really, really smart guy, great worker, had no interest, as the business would have grown, had no interest in any sort of managerial role, anything like that. He said, man, I want to be with the plants. I just want to be with the plants. And he was with the plants now. And he's like, dude, if we have millions of these things, that's all I want to do. I don't care. I don't want to go give conferences. I don't want to teach people. None of that. Just leave me in here with the lettuce. But by talking with him and having that honest sort of a conversation, you're willing to go, okay, is he the guy who's going to go with me all the way to the top? No, but he has this passion right there, and he can thrive inside that kind of an area. And you're never going to find that in your team members unless you have that honest conversation.
Well, I'm bringing this full circle to where we started today is let's analyze the 5 parts of your business in 30 minutes through the business battleship. And the part we're talking about is the staff part. Let's see if there's some weaknesses there, because maybe there are some weaknesses, and you might be thinking, the business owner's thinking in the back of their head, it's no wonder I'm going through staff where they're not accomplishing what I want them to accomplish, is because maybe I don't have some pieces and parts in place in the business. And that part of my business, that people part, is one of my weaknesses. And you work on that. It's all fixable. It's just a matter of time and how to fix it.
How do you convince business leaders that they owe it to themselves? I'm answering my own question, unfortunately, that they owe it to themselves to spend just this little bit of time analyzing their business.
Well, I can't convince them. They've got to convince themselves. But here's the thing. If they think they know it all, we'll never be able to talk to them. I mean, I don't know that I'd want to talk to them if they think they know it all. If I get a business owner that's like, you know what, I've got a good thing going, but I want it to go better. Or I get a business owner that's like, man, I'm really struggling. And I know there's some things wrong, but I just don't know what they are. Well, that's where I shine. That's where, as a coach, I've been doing this for now 30 years or more, I can step into that coach role for that business owner and say, okay, here's some areas you might want to work on, but here's some areas that you've done really well in. And, the oftentimes I hear, well, man, they're really struggling in their business. They need a coach. Well, great. I don't mind stepping in and helping them, but I love to, link in with a business owner that things are going great, but they want to go from here. They want to go on up. Okay, great. Well, that's fine too. We can do that. So they really have to convince themselves either they've got to hurt bad enough to be able to say, you know what, I got to make a change. I don't know what it is, but I got to make a change. And 30 minutes with me can certainly show them where they might want to make those changes. And the other areas, things are going really well, but they're not satisfied. They're just not satisfied with where they're at. They're happy, they're appreciative, but they know they can do more. They can, grow to another location and expand or hire some more people or hit a new sales goal or whatever it may be. They're just not satisfied.
How do you help to actually, I guess I got to define this because this is something we started using. We call it problem solving fever. Comes from my favorite guy, Les Stroud's bush fever. When you're in the mountains and you just keep going over the next hill thinking, oh, my campsite's over the next hill, campsite's over the next hill. Well, entrepreneurs, they get what I guess I got to trademark this problem solving fever, which is you just go, okay, you don't know which direction you're going in, but you just convince yourself. It goes back to those assumptions we're talking about earlier, those guesses. And you just go, okay, well, I'm just going to keep going that way. I'm just going to solve that problem. And you never step back and ask yourself, should I be solving this problem? So Jeff, with your clients, how do you help to break them out of that kind of a problem solving fever? Because entrepreneurs love to solve problems. That's why a lot of people are entrepreneurs. But it's really easy to just get stuck in that problem solving mode.
The easiest way for me is purpose, plan, profit is 3 of the 5 P's. The purpose is your goals. It's your why. It's what drives you, what gets you out of bed. That helps you overlook the nagging problems. It helps you go, you know what, my purpose is I'm going to hit 10 million in revenue this year. That's where I'm going. And to do that, I know I've got to do 5 things, and I'm going to focus on those 5 things each and every day of my life. Then those little nagging problems, yeah, they're there, but you tend to overlook them. You tend to look past them because they're just, if you got to solve it, just solve it. But if something just nagging you, it's like, all right, I got an employee that's just, they're really having a tough time. All right, we deal with that, but then we move on. We keep focused on the main thing. We keep the main thing, and keep going that direction.
We always say the phrase of putting out fires. I had to say, you immediately made me think of my days working in an indoor farm. We didn't have to put out many fires. We had to mop up a lot of water when the systems would break or something, pump fails and the water starts pouring out everywhere. You still have to mop up the water, just like you're saying, Jeff. You can't ignore the big problem. You can't not put out the fire every time. But when you have your clear vision of those five steps to reach that goal, you're able to, when you have to veer off track to go put out a fire or mop up water, in my case, you're able to come back around and stay back to that plan.
Yeah, you got to stay focused. You really do. And oftentimes business owners they lose that focus because things are going good. And so they get a little lax. And, then by the time that they realize, boy, things are really screwed up here, man, they've got revenue issues or, people issues or whatever it is. And they don't really know what to do about it at that point.
What's your talking about all these problems? And I agree with you. One of the things that I've seen, and I think this happens a lot within businesses, is they start off with this great plan and they've got this great vision and they're going to do this today and that tomorrow. And they're going to they got this whole thing, and then boom, it blows up in their face. And then next thing they know, that they spent the last year being in reaction mode and never kind of going back to the plan, which just made me think about what I'd really love to know is, what is that favorite problem that you love to get in there and you go, oh man, this is good. I'm going to knock this one out of the park. And this is going to be an easy win for me, easy win for them. What's your favorite problem to help clients with?
I don't know that I have a favorite, but purposeplanprofit.com that has 3 of the P's in it. I love to help people set goals. It's that focus. It helps them see what their dream is, and then how to, lay out some stepping stones to accomplish it. And then the plan is that marketing. And I really do enjoy helping that business owner create their marketing plan in a very simple, basic, practical way. And then the last one is purpose plan profit. Stop using your bank statement or your bank balance as a way to tell you if your business is going well. So let's create what I call a financial dashboard or some kind of profit dashboard that shows us every piece of your business And we can kind of make it numeric to where, all right, you want 100 people to walk through your front door. How many came in today? You know, you want to hit $10,000 in sales each and every day. How much did you hit today? You know, you want to have your salespeople make 20 phone calls, set up 10 face-to-face meetings. How many did those happen today? And so you really start breaking it down into numerics and what you can measure, you can manage. So those three areas probably are my favorite. It's tough, Otis, to say what's my favorite, but those are the three. If we can get those three going, of course, then, you know, leadership is in my blood, and then I'm an organizational fool or nut. So processes is really something that makes that business just stick together and run like a well-oiled machine. So that's all five of the 5 P's. I don't know if I have a favorite. It's probably wherever that business owner is and where they're hurting, you know, where their dream is, because I like to go in and say, okay, here's where you're weak. Let's get that fixed. And then your dream can start getting back on the road better again.
I love it. I love it, man. That's a great way of looking at it. And yeah, you know, you're right. It's hard to pick one favorite. That's why I just did it just for fun. You know, I like to put you on the spot there, you know, and see what you came up with, because it is, I mean, it's so different with each client. I think that's the way to think about it, and realize that, you know, I won't mention the name of a friend of mine's business, but they've been very successful, but in their success, they've created, you fit into this box, whether you want to fit into that box or not. You fit into this box. Here's your problems, because I just know, and here's the solution. You know, here's the problems, and then here's the answers. And I hate seeing that. I know that's not the way you operate. That's not the way we operate at Tribe and Purpose. But that is, if folks, if you're out there, public service announcement, if you're hiring somebody that does that for you, tell them thank you very much, and then shift over and find somebody that's going to fit your needs and your problem sets, and design it for the way that you want your business to run. Just like Jeff said very early on in the show today, it ain't about here's the answers from somebody else's way of doing it, somebody else's plan. It's about what your business needs. And that's where you can really find that success. Match up with the right people, whether it's Jeff, us, or somebody else. Match up with the right people that know and want to help your style of business, your style of leadership, your values, your vision, your goals, all those things. Not, hey, here's the Google answer, because, you know, it worked for Google, and I put money on it, put my paycheck on it, that it ain't going to work for you, because you ain't Google. Plain and simple.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think you're right.
Well, hey, Jeff, this has been great, man. Great to see you again. A lot of fun. I love what's going on with Purpose Plan Profit. And you see, I just want for our listeners to know that, yes, I did practice the Purpose Plan Profit today so that I could say it and not stumble over it and not forget one of the P's, because I was substituting all kinds of P's in the first time Jeff was in the show. But I appreciate it, man. It is good to see you. So lessons learned. What did we learn today? And you notice I chose the words a little different, because I'm thrown off with Camden standing next to me, stealing my oxygen. Mm-hmm. You know, for me, I love the law of the lid. I've not heard that. That's really cool. I love that. Just, it's so simple and so true. Don't get stuck by the lid being on the top, because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong in this whole philosophy of it, but in that analogy of the law of the lid, you can take the lid off and get out of that jar. So at least in my mind, even if I'm in the jar, I'm unscrewing it from the inside so that I can just keep on growing. So,
well, and you can raise that lid up, you know, in your leadership lid. If you're a 6-level leader, you can make yourself a 7-level leader, and it'll take you up. And then you can actually get leaders that will grow under you. but if you're a 7, you're not going to get an 8, 9, or a 10 level leader to hang around with you very long. They'll just get frustrated. You'll get frustrated with them and they'll move on pretty quickly, more than likely. But yeah, I didn't come up with that. My mentor and guy I used to work with, John Maxwell, he has a book that he spoke on that, Law of the Lid, many times and written on it many times. So it's a great philosophy. And, the thing that I think that brought back to my memory is there's no cookie cutter thing here. People that have a cookie cutter process, I don't know how they do that, because every person, every business has different issues. They have different weaknesses, strengths, dreams. You got to go at it from almost a clean slate and say, what are we doing?
Camden, what did you learn?
Jeff, I think you said this just a little bit ago, but what you can measure, you can manage. I really like that. I'm one, I've definitely been an advocate before for getting those systems in place and be able to check out and keep track of everything. I'm the type when I run my businesses, I have the chalkboard and I'm changing sales every day when I walk in there and that kind of stuff. But then the next step from that, just not just measuring it, but then once you have an understanding of what those metrics are looking like, then you can manage it. And I really love that, because that's how you're gonna, if it's a weakness, you can build onto it and get rid of that weakness. And if it's a strength, build onto your successes and do even better with that strength. So I love that. What you can measure, you can manage.
Absolutely. Yep.
Jeff, what'd you learn?
Well, it brought back to my mind, kind of relearned that, there's no cookie cutter. Everybody's different. Everybody has their own challenges, their own dreams, their own issues. And for me as a coach, I can't jump on a Zoom meeting or a phone call or face-to-face and you go into it thinking, okay, I've got the answers, buddy. You just don't worry about it. You just sit back and I'll just throw up on you with all this great information that I've got and wisdom. Now I need to listen some. I need to pay attention to what you're really saying. And I've been doing this long enough where that comes a little easier to me than maybe some people, but there is no cookie cutter process. There's no canned approach.
I just want to add on to that, because what it makes me think immediately of, and we talk about this a lot with when you coach high school rugby, you get a lot of, especially in America, you get the never evers, never ever even seen a rugby ball, don't know anything about it. And what I see a lot of people I've coached with, didn't coach with them very long because they're not very good at it. But what they do is they have that cookie cutter approach, just like we're saying, where it's like, okay, well, this is how I'm going to teach you. And what I've learned to do, and what I've seen the best rugby coaches I've seen, they have that dynamic approach that we're talking about, to where my favorite thing to do if I get a never ever is I say, okay, well, what sport did you play? And I will tell you how rugby is exactly like whatever sport you play. I don't care if you played hockey. I will tell you how it's the exact same thing, so that everything I talk about will make sense to you. And it really just goes back to, you have to have that kind of a dynamic approach, because if you do come with that cookie cutter, you're going to miss out on so many people, and you're going to think it's their fault, but it's really yours, because it's your approach that they're just not fitting into.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
Jeff, run us through how folks get in touch with you, how they get on that
Business Battleship.
Business Battleship. I had to look at
Business Battleship, powered by P5BOS. A couple of ways. One is you can call my office, 772-226-0723. Direct line rings right to my desk. I don't want people having to go through somebody to get to me. So 772-226-0723, or go to purposeplanprofit.com. You'll see the big Business Battleship right there. It's right under execute. Click on that. You can take that 7-question quiz, be able to see if you're really ready for it. If you are, click on the big red button, schedule some time together, and we'll jump on the phone and see what we can do to help you.
Perfect. Hey, I appreciate it. Good to see you again, and look forward to checking back in with you here in the near future and having you on the show again.
Well, it's been my pleasure and my joy to be here with you guys and with all the listeners, and I hope you guys have an amazing rest of the week.
Thanks. Camden, run us out.
All right. Thank you all again for listening to today's episode. Special thanks to our guest, Jeff Earlywine, for joining us today, and our sponsor, Tribe and Purpose. Find your tribe, find your purpose. If you want to learn more about Tribe and Purpose, go to findyourpurpose.coach and get started there. If you, I don't have my notes in front of me. It's in Tucson. I had it there. I got through the first half. Gosh darn it. If you want to listen to more episodes of the Cam and Otis Show, you can go to a full archive at thecamandotishow.buzzsprout.com. And if you want to catch up on recent episodes, they're all on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks again, and we'll see you all next week.